Hello everyone and welcome to the third and last part of this LittleBigPlanet 2 move pack analysis. Having mostly discussed the Movinator in the previous two parts, it's now time to take a look at the other move-specific tools included in this package, starting from the cursor. Adding it to your game of level is just a matter of placing the corresponding logic on the Movinator. No need to connect any sensor output to it, as it will work right away. As you can guess from the simplistic move calibration process occurring upon connecting the move, the on-screen cursor behavior is pretty basic, meaning pointing is simply a matter of tilting the controller rather than actually pointing it at the screen. Wherever you are relative to the screen, in fact, pointing the move straight forward will see the cursor displayed at the center of the screen. I assume the reason behind this is the desire to keep the calibration process as simple as possible, same with the lack of any sensitivity option. So let's see what you can do with the cursor. First of all, you can change the way it looks by picking up any icon from your sticker, decoration and pictures collection. You can then change its color as well as its size. Setting it to 0 makes the cursor disappear, by the way. You can also set its angle and decide whether or not to have it make its default sound when you pull the trigger. Okay, now let's see how grabbing works. First of all, you can decide whether or not you want to be able to pick up things with the cursor by pulling the trigger. As for what you can pick up any material that is grabbable by default or that you made grabbable via the material tweaker. As I've shown in the first video, the material tweaker options have been modified to reflect cursor interaction, by the way. The only limitation here is the weight of the grabbable object, which can't exceed the 16.5 value. In fact, as you can see here, if I increase the size of this apple so that its weight goes past the 16.5 value, I can't grab it anymore. Before you ask, you can't bypass this limitation using a gravity tweaker. This option here allows to decide whether you want or not to be able to move the grabbed object in and out by pulling or pushing the move. When active, the highlight option here has any grabbable object react visually to cursor hover, like this. If you want, you can remove this visual cue and create your own using the new options provided by the grab sensor, which is now capable of detecting the cursor. Simply connect it to a material you can change the color of, like the new sticker material here, and there you go. Of course, the new grab sensor options allow for all sorts of cursor interactions. In this case, I'm using it in order to have these three Sackboys react in different ways to the cursor. This one reacts with a cool move. This one goes on fire. With this last one, I've made it so that I can control it as long as the cursor is hovering it. As you can tell, the new grab sensor options open up lots of new possibilities. Finally, the tag option here basically gives you more option over the grabbability of a given object. Now, beyond grabbing, what makes the cursor logic especially cool is the fact that it is actually a microchip, which means you can apply to it all sorts of different behaviors. Not only that, despite the cursor chip being located on the Movinator, outcomes of context-related logic do occur on the cursor itself. For example, if you add an emitter to it, in this case I'm using a simple smoke one, the emitted object shows up at cursor position, not at the Movinator one. In this other example, I've set the three Sackboys to look in the direction of the tag located on the cursor chip, and as you can see, they actually follow the cursor instead. But wait, it gets better. Since there is no limit to the amount of cursor chips you can place on a movinator, you can easily switch between different cursor types, each with their own shape and logic. In this case, I'm using a simple selector attached to a triangle button to cycle between 3 different cursors, each with their own properties in terms of shape, sounds, and even camera and lighting. In this other example, I'm using the multiple cursors method to animate the cursor itself when I pull the trigger, as well as to change its icon when hovering specific objects, as well as when grabbing them. Notice also the different sound effect. Apply some motion sensing to this and you can do stuff like what I'm showing you here, switching weapons at a flick of a wrist.
Electricity. Fire. Electricity. Fire. Electricity.
And why not, you can change fire mode altogether as well. In this other example, I have applied an angle sensor to the cursor chip, so that whenever I tilt the hand cursor upside down, I destroy objects instead of picking them up. Here is another one showing how you can combine the cursor with the tilt-based camera control to build on new gameplay mechanics. Finally, it goes without saying that with the cursor in place you can build all kinds of control interfaces. Okay, let's move on to another tool now. What I'm demonstrating here is the motion recorder, which allows not only to record motions of any grabbable object, be it a standalone one or a part of a more complex contraption, but also button presses. Here I have attached buttons to the eyes of the scope, as well as on the sound effect above them. All I need to do now is hit record here, grab the code, perform my action, and then unpause to see them reproduced. For smoother motion recordings, you can also hold the move vertically. By doing so, you can move the object around via sphere position tracking instead of move angle tracking. Anyway, objects with the motion recordings attached to them can be copied and pasted along with the motion recordings themselves, which is something you might find useful for building multiple enemies patterns. Finally, let's discuss the paint tool. Being based on the beta, the current footage doesn't represent the final version of this tool, which looks much better than this and also provides a few more options. Anyway, as you can see, painting works as you would expect. Here we have different brushes, with the option to change size and transparency either manually or by applying different pressure to the move trigger. You can pick up colors from a palette, as well as from the painting itself via the color picker. You can erase stuff as well as undo. Move rolling tilts the brush, of course, which is an optional feature if you don't want that. And you can also pick up any sticker icon as a brush. You can modify their colors and also combine them as you see me doing here. It's a pretty neat feature, as you can see, especially in the light of the new sticker material, which allows to create your own stickers, albeit I have to criticize the lack of an option to draw via sphere position tracking instead of just the angle one. In my opinion, position tracking allows for smoother drawing, just like it allows for smoother motion recording, as I've mentioned before. But anyway, it's not like you can't come up with some amazing paintings, as this cool move one shows. I didn't do this, by the way, but rather a beta user. And I guess this is it. Thanks for watching this overview of the Move Pack DLC, and be sure to drop me a line over at iWaggle3D if you come up with some cool move games. Ok, see you next time, buon lavoro, ciao!